Welcome to the Health Headliner podcast by Tudu Digital. Our content is informational only and not medical advice. Please consult your provider. Now, let's dive into today's headlines.
In our fast-paced, often pretty overwhelming world, there's this growing awareness and maybe even a growing urgency around supporting the mental well-being of young people. Their cognitive development, too. We're always looking for ways to help them navigate challenges, things like depression or maybe, difficulties with focus and memory.
Absolutely.
But what if one of the most powerful tools, maybe the most accessible one, isn't something totally new? What if it's something many of us are already doing, but maybe, just maybe, not doing it as effectively as we could?
Well, that's exactly what we're trying to get at today.
Okay.
Our mission here is to cut through some of the noise and pull out some really crucial, actionable insights. And we're looking at not just one, but two recent high-quality scientific studies. They're called network meta-analyses.
Network meta-analyses, right.
Yeah, and these are powerful because they don't just hint at if exercise helps.
Okay.
They really dig into the how, and importantly, which specific types of physical activity might be, most beneficial for kids and adolescents dealing with things like depression or attention deficit hyperactivity disorder.
So this isn't just that general advice like go out and get more physical activity.
Not at all.
This is about finding precise, evidence-based strategies, stuff that could genuinely make a difference in young lives. And for me, that's incredibly exciting. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
So if physical activity is this powerful tool, where do we even begin? I think the first big question has to tackle something affecting so many young people. How does movement specifically impact depressive symptoms in children and adolescents? We're diving into a study here. It's got a bit of a technical name. Comparative Effects of Exercise Type and Dose on Depression in Children and Adolescents. A network meta-analysis.
Yeah, that title might sound a bit academic, but the method behind it, it's incredibly powerful. Imagine you've got, say, a dozen different jigsaw puzzles, right?
Okay.
And each one shows just a small piece of this bigger picture about exercise and young people. A network meta-analysis, it's like having this scientific super tool. It lets us connect the dots across all those puzzles at the same time.
I see.
So instead of just comparing, say, running versus weightlifting in one study, it lets researchers see how multiple different approaches stack up against each other, even if they weren't directly compared in the original research.
So it gives a much broader view then.
Exactly. It gives us the clearest, most comprehensive picture of what's truly most effective. And for this particular analysis on depression, they synthesized findings from 17 high-quality studies. And that involved a pretty substantial number of young people, 1,357 to be precise.
Wow, okay, 17 studies, over 1,300 participants. That's solid. So using this powerful method, what was the absolute top takeaway? What did it reveal about reducing depressive symptoms? Because, when most of us think exercise for mood, we probably think cardio first. Running, cycling.
That's the common assumption.
Did this study back that up, or did it give us something surprising? What really stood out?
Well, that's actually where the surprise comes in.
Yeah.
It really does kind of flip that common perception on its head.
Okay.
The key finding was quite clear. Resistance training, what many of us just call strength training, it emerged as significantly more effective at reducing depressive symptoms.
Really? More than aerobic?
Significantly more effective compared to aerobic training or even doing a combination of aerobic and resistance training. Now, it's important to say all types of exercise showed some benefit. That's crucial.
Okay, good point.
But the resistance training, that really stood out as the most impactful. For young people who might be struggling with depression, that's a very specific and I think very actionable insight.
Wow. Resistance training. That is a powerful finding. And I can imagine some listeners hearing resistance training and maybe picturing, heavy weights, a serious gym setup, especially for a younger person.
Sure.
Is that really what the study points to? Or are there maybe more accessible ways to approach this?
That's a really excellent point about accessibility.
Yeah.
And while, yes, specific forms of resistance training were looked at in the studies, it's important to remember resistance training can cover a whole range of activities. It could be bodyweight exercises, things like squats, push-ups. It could be using resistance bands.
Right, stuff you can do at home.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or even just engaging in sports that naturally build strength. It doesn't automatically mean lifting heavy weights in a gym, particularly not for younger kids. The study was really focused on the type of muscular engagement.
Got it. And beyond the type, the dose. How often? That's always the next question, isn't it? People want that recipe for results. Did the research give us clear guidance there?
It did, absolutely. They provided a pretty clear recommendation for the, let's call it, optimal dosage.
Okay.
The sweet spot they identified was exercising for about 20 to 30 minutes per session.
20 to 30 minutes.
Yeah, doing that 3 times a week over a period of about 6 to 8 weeks.
Okay, 3 times a week, 6 to 8 weeks.
That specific combination, it yielded the most significant reductions in depressive symptoms in the analysis.
Interesting.
But they also added an important nuance. They found that greater frequency and duration, basically, being more consistent and maybe exercising a bit longer each time, could lead to even more substantial improvements.
Ah, so consistency pays off, and maybe a bit more time, too.
It seems so. For the best results, yeah, consistency and maybe pushing that duration a bit could go a long way.
So let's think about what this means for you, the listener. If you're thinking about supporting a young person, maybe someone struggling with their mood, this gives a very specific, evidence-based place to start, doesn't it?
It really does.
Instead of just that general, go play outside, we can now actually consider recommending specific, structured resistance training. Maybe starting simple, like you said, bodyweight stuff, right? Resistance bands at home, or looking for programs, maybe sports, that incorporate strength building for that crucial 6 to 8 week period, 3 times a week. It shifts the focus, I think, from just general activity to a more targeted intervention.
Precisely.
Okay, so from strengthening emotional resilience, let's pivot a bit. Let's talk about boosting brain power. We know many young people, and maybe especially those diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or ADHD, they often grapple with challenges related to focus, concentration, memory.
Yes, that's very common. To set the stage a bit, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it's a common neurodevelopmental disorder in children. Data from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention back in 2020 indicated that around 9.4% of kids aged 3 to 17 were diagnosed with it.
Wow, 9.4%. That's nearly 1 in 10.
It is. Nearly 1 in every 10 children. And a really common co-occurring challenge for these individuals, one that can be genuinely debilitating, is impaired working memory.
Working memory. Can you just quickly explain what that is?
Sure. Working memory basically refers to our brain's ability to hold on to information and manipulate it over short periods. Think of it like your mental scratch pad.
Okay, like juggling information in your head.
Exactly. And it's absolutely crucial for everyday tasks like following instructions or learning new things in school, even for just having smooth social interactions.
Right.
So when it's impaired, it can lead to things like frequent distractions, difficulty keeping attention focused, real challenges with planning and organization.
Okay, that makes sense. So this second network meta-analysis, similar setup to the first one, it had a very specific aim then, to figure out which types of exercise work best for improving working memory in kids with ADHD.
That was exactly the goal. And like the first one, this study also synthesized a significant body of research. Again, 17 individual studies were included, involving 419 participants this time. Still a substantial data set to work with.
Definitely. So what did this research uncover? Was there a clear winner for boosting working memory?
There was, and it revealed a really fascinating hierarchy of effectiveness.
A hierarchy, okay.
Yeah. Right at the very top, showing the most significant positive effect, was something called cognitive-aerobic exercise.
Cognitive-aerobic exercise. What does that involve?
So this isn't just about, say, running on a treadmill or cycling mindlessly. It's more like a dynamic brain workout combined with physical activity.
Ah, okay, so doing 2 things at once.
Sort of. Imagine activities where you're moving your body, but at the same time, your brain is actively engaged in something like rapid decision-making or problem-solving.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, maybe a sport where you have to react super quickly to changing situations. Or perhaps an exercise routine that makes you remember specific sequences or patterns.
I see.
This kind of dual challenge, it really intensely fires up and seems to strengthen those neural pathways linked to memory and executive function. It makes your brain work harder and smarter while your body's working.
That's fascinating. So it's the combination that's key. What came next in the hierarchy?
Ranking second in effectiveness were ball sports.
Ball sports. Okay, like basketball, soccer.
Exactly. Think about activities like basketball, soccer, even tennis. These sports demand high levels of sustained focus, right? You need strategic thinking. You constantly have to remember the actions and positions of your teammates, your opponents.
Right, a lot going on mentally.
A lot going on. And all of that directly challenges and, it seems, improves working memory, often in a really engaging way for kids.
Okay, so cognitive aerobic first, then ball sports. What else did they look at?
Well, they contrasted these with other types, things like mind-body exercises, yoga or Tai Chi, for instance, and also interactive video games like exergames. These showed only moderate effects on working memory.
Moderate. Okay. Not bad, but not top tier.
Right. And interestingly, simple aerobic exercise, just plain cardio without that added cognitive demand, that had the smallest impact on working memory in this analysis.
Huh. So just going for a run might not be the best bet for specifically improving working memory in this group.
It seems not, compared to these other types. It really underscores that the amount of cognitive load, the level of executive demands during the exercise, played a really significant role in how much working memory improved.
That is such a profound distinction. It's not just about moving. It's about moving with intention and keeping the brain busy, too.
Precisely. It's not just about getting the heart rate up. It's about what your brain is doing while your heart rate is up.
Okay, this raises another important question for me. Did other factors play a role here, like how often they did these exercises or how long the sessions were? Did that influence the results for working memory? We know consistency often matters.
Yes, good question. And consistency and duration definitely seem to be factors here, too. The analysis indicated that increased weekly intervention frequency, so doing it more times per week, and also the total intervention time, like the overall number of weeks or hours. Both of those significantly enhanced the positive effect of that cognitive aerobic exercise.
Okay, so more is more in this case.
It suggests that, yes, for reaping these cognitive benefits, especially working memory, more consistent and probably more prolonged engagement with that cognitively demanding type of exercise seems to be key.
Right.
It's not just about doing it once in a blue moon. It's doing it regularly and for a sufficient period that really allows the brain to, build and strengthen those new pathways. It looks like sustained effort really pays off.
Okay. Now, with any study, especially meta-analyses that combine different research, there are always things to keep in mind, right? Aspects to consider for broader application, maybe things we don't fully understand yet. What limitations should we be aware of when we interpret these, frankly, fascinating findings about exercise and working memory?
Yeah, absolutely. It's crucial to approach these findings with a complete picture. So first, while we see that these interventions do seem to work, the underlying specific mechanisms like how exactly they're changing things at a neurological level, those are still being thoroughly explored.
Okay, so we see the what, but not fully the how yet.
Pretty much. We see the results, but the precise brain changes are still an active area of research. Second, there's generally a lack of long-term follow-up data in many of these studies.
Right.
So while we see benefits over, say, several weeks or maybe a few months, we don't yet have a clear picture of how sustained these working memory improvements are over, many years.
That's important for thinking about lasting change.
Definitely. Third, there was quite a bit of variation among the study participants themselves.
How so?
Well, you had children of different ages, potentially with different levels of ADHD symptom severity. This means they might respond differently. What works best for one child might need a little tweaking for another. It's not always one size fits all.
Okay, individual differences matter.
They do. And finally, there's a practical challenge. Because of the very nature of exercise interventions, it's incredibly difficult, almost impossible, to do traditional double-blind studies.
Right, you can't really hide from someone that they're exercising.
Exactly. Neither the participants nor the researchers can truly be blind to who is getting the active intervention versus, say, a control group. And this could, at least in theory, introduce some level of bias. So researchers obviously use other statistical methods to try and control for this as much as possible.
Got it. Those are important points to keep in mind. Okay, let's try and bring this all together then. Thinking back over both studies, what really stands out to you from this deep dive?
Well, for me, I think...
For me, I have to say it's just this incredibly compelling evidence that physical activity isn't just, generally good for physical health. It really seems to be a powerful and importantly targeted tool for specific mental and cognitive benefits in young people.
I completely agree.
We now have some pretty solid evidence-based guidings emerging, don't we? Resistance training seems particularly potent for reducing depressive symptoms. And And then for boosting working memory, especially in kids with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, it looks like that cognitive aerobic exercise and also ball sports really emerge as the top contenders.
Yes, what's truly fascinating, I think, is how these findings offer potentially actionable, evidence-based strategies for parents, for educators, for clinicians,
Right.
because knowledge is really most valuable when we can understand it and then apply it, right? So, for example, instead of just that blanket suggestion to get more exercise.
Yeah, which can feel a bit vague.
Exactly. We can now think more specifically about integrating structured physical activities that have those cognitive demands built in. Maybe finding ways to do that in daily routines, perhaps even exploring these kinds of activities within classroom settings,
Ooh, interesting idea.
or, tailoring exercise recommendations within treatment protocols, maybe individualizing the intensity or the type based on the child's needs. It really moves us from just a general recommendation to a much more specific, informed approach.
It really does. So here's a thought to leave you with. What if we started seeing specific forms of physical activity, not just as these general health builders, but almost as targeted, like brain prescriptions for young minds, tailored to their unique emotional needs, their cognitive needs?
Brain prescriptions, I like that.
The potential there for truly personalized well-being, it feels immense, doesn't it?
It really does. A lot to think about.
Definitely. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today.
My pleasure.
Thanks for tuning in to the Health Headliner podcast by To Digital. Like and subscribe for more health news and breakthroughs. Stay healthy and informed. See you next time.